This is the Variety Sports Network, created for the fans, by the fans. Now to your host of tonight's show.
The Home Field Studios.
Oh, there he is.
Guys, how are you tonight?
Doing pretty solid. Survived, and we got one more hot day here in the Midwest, here in St. Louis,
Yeah.
and it's been a scorcher. We got one more day left, and hopefully it'll all be passed, and we'll be settling into some fall weather. But other than that, doing pretty well.
Love
I was
that.
about to say, Brian, you read my mind there.
Yeah.
How hot's it been down south?
We've had days this week where the high has been 100, 101 with a heat index of 115.
Ooh,
Yep.
Jesus. I mean, in Ohio, it's been 90s every day, so I get that Midwest heat, man. It's been crazy up here too.
Yeah.
But I feel like that swamp's not the right word, but that wet, you're just sweating all the time heat that you guys have down in the south is just different. Yeah, the humidity.
Yeah.
Guys, anything really caught your eye this week? Anything leading up to week 0? Anything caught your guys' eye? Anything for you, Caleb?
I think for you mentioned it earlier on our Twitter page or X page, the news with the Georgia running back being out for the season. I think that's big news for Georgia, and hopefully they have another guy with that next man up mentality.
Yeah, very, very good point. Brandon, anything catch your eye this week?
Yeah, no, that was about it. That was the Georgia losing their running back is a big deal in a running back room that doesn't sound like it's very deep,
Right.
as it is. So yeah, I mean they're going to contend for a national championship again. They're going to have somebody step up to the plate.
Totally true. What caught my eye is obviously the potential merger between the ACC and the remaining Pac-12 teams plus SMU. Obviously, that is a big money proposition, bringing in teams like Stanford and Cal, and then SMU. It would be a big deal to get them back into a more prominent conference like they were when they were really good. Guys, we're going to be getting into a couple different topics today. We're going top running backs. We're going week 0 pick 'em. We're doing a little bit of everything. I just wanted to mention, guys, we are officially starting a college pick 'em on ESPN. Group name will be VSN Saturday Showdown, and the password will be Saturday Showdown, all one word. And we're going to go with 3 prizes for our top 3 finishers. We're going to go first place. A $50 gift card for Home Field Apparel, our sponsor. And then second place, we're going to do a VSN t-shirt. Third place, we're going to do a VSN hat. And guys, I'm really looking forward to kick all of our listeners' ass. I got to be straightforward with you. I think we just go ahead and win this thing and take all the prizes ourselves. How's that sound to you two? Because, hey, who's going to beat us out there? How's that sound to you, Caleb, though? A little pick this year with a little competition with our listeners.
Yeah, I think it'll, hopefully bring some that engagement and, see who's up for the challenge to take on, this trio here of, this Saturday Showdown football show.
Right. Brandon, any comments to our listeners about you dominating them and pick them?
Bring it on.
Bring it on. I love it. As I mentioned before, we are in the Home Field Studios. If you guys are looking for any apparel, the first time you purchase, you get 15% off when you use code Variety Sports, and that's all caps, guys. Variety Sports. Home Field Apparel has been really killing it with their bomber jackets. As you guys can see, the Green Wave T-shirt. Really great apparel, guys. Give them a look. Anything else, guys, you want to get into talk about before we really get into the meat and potatoes of the show tonight?
The what we talked about earlier, really quick. What was it? Something Alliance. It was something Alliance, Classic Alliance, so something Alliance with the Big Ten.
Oh yeah,
and ACC, and how that's just basically gone out the window at this point for the well-being of the student athletes. And now
I forget who rehashed it, but yeah, Brett McMurphy, I think it was, brought up how the merger the alliance between those 3 conferences, it literally lasted a week and fell apart. I know you were talking about it, and some people rehashed it on Twitter. Hilarious how when money starts talking, how those things type things just fall apart instantly.
Yeah,
it was a great concept, but it just really never went anywhere.
No. It's just funny how it's all like transpired now. You're like, oh, we're for the well being of the student athletes and this and that, and then they're like, oh yeah, but we're gonna have UCLA fly all the way to Rutgers, so it's cool.
Exactly. No, I'm glad you brought that up because we've been seeing a lot of that on Twitter after it getting rehashed about the downfall of that alliance.
Yeah.
Let's transition into our first topic, guys, tonight. We've done quarterbacks. We've talked about other positions. It's time for our top 5 running backs going in 2023.
Sorry, there we go.
Caleb, lead us off with your number 1 running back heading into 2023.
I think going into 2023, this is an easy one, especially after end of the last year announcing his return. You got to go Blake Corum from Michigan. Dude was a stud last year for Michigan, and he's just coming back, and I think has the chance to be just as good or better.
I'm just going to piggyback off that. Blake Corum was my number 1 pick. I think we're all pretty unanimous in our number 1. He's earned that spot. And again, he's going to have a hell of a season. Brandon, give us your number 2 then.
That's tough. I mean, it's tough. The guy at Ole Miss, Quinshawn Jenkins, is a pretty solid guy last year.
Really
1,567 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns. I mean that right there. That's those are Blake Corum numbers too. Probably just doesn't get talked about as much because he's at Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
But he should be a solid running back for this year, and he's only a sophomore, so still got a lot of years left.
For sure, really, really talented guy. Yeah. Caleb, do you agree, or are you going with somebody else?
For number 2, I've got to go with my guy Rocket. I get the hype around Quinshawn Judkins. He had a stellar freshman year. I'm not 100% sold yet on did he just come out and have a stellar year? Can he come in and prove it year after year? Rocket's a veteran guy that has done it for 3 years here at Arkansas. And I think he's primed to, have an even better year than he did last year. And to me, that's why I have Rocket over Quinshawn Judkins, just because he's got experience in the SEC. Right. We only have a small sample size from Judkins, and that's what brings me to say Rocket over him.
I like that you mixed it up there. It's pretty much was a toss up between Jenkins and Rocket for me. I'm going to go with Jenkins very slightly. I think it helps that he doesn't have somebody as talented as KJ around to, take some of those yards, some of those, in the red zone touchdowns that maybe Rocket would score if KJ wasn't as talented as he is. So I'm going to give Jenkins a slight edge just because I think the opportunities are a little better for him. Nothing taken away because I'm going to go jump ahead. Rocket's my 3rd rated running back coming into the season. Caleb, who is your 3rd rated?
I got Judkins from Ole Miss. Like you said, it was a toss-up. For me, like I said, the deciding factor is that experience, and, Rocket's proven it year in, year out, which, Judkins should come out and have another great year like he did, but until he comes out and does it and proves that he can be consistent with his game, that was the deciding factor for me.
Gotcha. Totally understand that. Brandon, who you got?
Yeah, to go with, I guess Raheem Sanders is Rocket.
Rocket Sanders. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know nicknames and stuff that well with players. But yeah, 14, almost 1,500 yards last year, 10 rushing touchdowns. He had 2 receiving touchdowns as well. It's hard not to have another SEC guy right there in the top 3.
Really 2 just extremely, extremely talented guys down there. Let's jump to our 4th pick. I'm going to jump ahead. I got Nick Singleton from Penn State as my number 4. Just another uber talented guy in the Big Ten. Penn State seems to do really well with running backs. I expect him to have a really, really big year for Penn State. And if he's as good as projected, they may be able to upset Michigan or Penn State this year. It's going to be a lot of Singleton. I expect, like I said, a big year out of him. Caleb, go ahead and give us your number 4.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off you there with Nick Singleton. Another one of those great Penn State running backs where they've had several good ones the past few years with Saquon and, some of those guys like that. It's hard to argue what he's doing up there.
Yeah,
totally fair. Brandon, who you got?
That's fair. I'm gonna go with Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin.
I like it.
My number 4 guy. He had 14 was 1,200 rushing yards last year, and 11 rushing touchdowns. The Big Ten has a lot of really solid running backs.
Yes, they do.
And the other team that has some depth outside of Michigan is probably Wisconsin and Penn State when it comes to running back wise. I mean, Michigan State, and that's probably be my number 5 is the other guy out of Michigan.
Edwards.
Edwards, yeah. Donovan Edwards. Probably. I mean, it's another. It's hard to have one solid running back, but to have two that are almost at 1,000 yards. One's over 1,000 yards. One's close to 1,000 yards last year. It's hard to have that type of running back skill in your running back room, especially at the college level.
So I get you. My number 5 ended up being Braylon Allen. Braylon Edwards would have been a hell of a running back at his size, but Braylon Allen was my number 5. Just Caleb, everything Wisconsin running backs, they just eat up yards. Those guys go out and with Luke Fickell coming in, I expect them to help Tanner Mordecai early with that running attack. And as the year goes along, obviously Mordecai will come around. Really good stats down at SMU, but I think, early, take a little bit of pressure off the new guy. Obviously, he's not new to college football, but you get your running back going. I think Allen has a big year at Wisconsin. Let me top 5: Corum, Jenkins, Rocket, Nick, Allen, and then you guys, we just kind of varied just a very little bit in our 5. I know, Brandon, you had Edwards at 5. Caleb, who'd you end up having at 5?
Braylon Allen as well from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's another team program that has produced a lot of high-level running backs throughout its tenure as well, and sending them to the league and everything.
Totally with you. So a lot of very talented running backs in the SEC and the Big Ten. Obviously, there's guys scattered all over the country, but that's the cream of the crop. Let's jump ahead to our next topic. We're going to go the AP top 5 in terms of strength of schedule. So as of right now, the AP top 5 is Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU. The way I looked at it, guys, was I took their 3 toughest games, and then I ranked them how I thought those toughest games went down. I did give a little bit of credit for playing in the SEC. I think some of even those middle-tier teams are still quality opponents, but the way I went about it was your top 3 hardest teams. So I'll give you guys my number 5. I think Georgia has a pretty easy schedule outside of Ole Miss and Tennessee. Ole Miss, I give them a lot of credit coming in ranked. Guys like Jenkins and some of those other really talented guys they've accumulated. I put Georgia at 5 in my strength of schedule rankings. Caleb, who do you have at number 5?
I'm going with you with Georgia. Besides, to me, their toughest game they've got on their schedule is that Tennessee game. I think that's going to be a big game for them. But if you look at the rest of the SEC East, not a lot of competition there. You've got South Carolina that they finished strong last season. Yeah. You've got Florida that they're really a juggernaut, really, because nobody knows what they're going to do this year. The loss of Anthony Richardson from last season. Mm-hmm. And then, they've got easy games. For me, their easiest one they've got Ball State. That's, beginning of the year.
Yeah. If you look at Georgia's first 2 games, it's Ball State and UT Martin. As good as Georgia is, the real test doesn't come until Ole Miss, and then they got Tennessee the week after. I mean, right. There's no reason they shouldn't be 8-0 going into that game. I mean, there's just no way. Brandon, who is your number 5 in the strength of schedule?
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I think Georgia. You look at Georgia's schedule. They finished the season at Georgia Tech. Start of the season, they have UT Martin and Ball State, and I think there was another team that was thrown in there that was kind of like
UAB's in there. Yeah,
UAB. So which they're not an awful program, but they're nowhere near one of the top teams that you could fill in with your schedule. So that's to go Georgia.
Okay, number 4. Brandon, I'll start with you. Who did you have at number 4 in the schedule?
I don't know. It's
we're splitting hairs here because, like, I mean,
it's tough.
Here's my reasoning, guys. Caleb, you might think a little bit differently than this. I said Michigan because there's only two teams on Michigan's schedule that I think they're even worried about, and that's Penn State and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And every other game they're going to be favored by double digits. East Carolina could be a trap game. We got some East Carolina guys in the VSN network.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, Eastern Carolina could be a good team, but it's Michigan. It's a really uphill battle.
Yeah.
So I only had them down with two really, really tough games. Caleb, who did you have at 4?
You know, that when you talk about splitting hairs, this 3-4 is where I struggled in flip flop back and forth. For number 4, I went with Ohio State. You know, kind of same reasoning as Michigan. You've got 2 games on that schedule. You know, you've got Michigan, you've got Penn State. That's really the tough teams that you're going to be playing throughout the rest of the conference. So, you know, it could be 3-4 either way, but I went with Ohio State at 4.
Okay. Brandon, did you make a decision on that?
Yeah, I think, like, you know, just kind of relooking at schedules and stuff, I think Michigan has the weaker of the schedule between, you know, the last 4 teams that are there. You kind of looking at, like, Ohio State's schedule right now. They still have Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's why I was going to push back on Caleb. Is Notre Dame's still a top 15 team. So right. I think that's a quality opponent. That's why I gave them the edge over Michigan. I put them at 3 because I wouldn't say it's not a crazy schedule, but, you know, Notre Dame's coming. Penn State's a very top 10 team. Michigan's a top 10 team.
Western Kentucky. Yeah, and Western Kentucky has one of the better quarterbacks in college football too.
That's true. So slight edge Ohio State. Brandon, it sounds like you're putting Michigan at 4 and Ohio State at 3. Okay, Caleb, who's your 3 then? Is it Ohio or is it Michigan then?
Yes. Yeah, it's Michigan.
Okay. Let's get to number 2. Brandon, who do you have at number 2?
Hey, for me, it's LSU.
Oh, you got LSU at 2.
LSU at 2. I think they just because we don't know what Florida State's going to be bringing.
Okay, that's fair.
You know.
Okay, so then let me pose another question to you.
Yeah.
Do you think Texas is better than Florida State right now?
Oh,
that's the hair we're splitting. So
absolutely.
You got Texas above Florida State.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense now. So you're putting more emphasis on Texas than Florida State because if you look at Alabama and LSU's 3 hardest games, they both play each other. That's clearly a hard game. They both play Ole Miss. That's a tough one. So the strength of schedule difference is Texas for Alabama and then Florida State for LSU. Okay, so are you guys agreeing at number 2 for Bama? Okay, so you're putting Bama at 1. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
LSU at 2, Bama at 1. I flip-flopped. I gave Florida State a little extra credit than Texas. I think that's a really like we've been this whole time. We're splitting hairs.
Mm-hmm.
I gave Florida State a slight edge, so I had LSU at 1, Bama at 2.
Yeah.
And so overall I think we're very close on this.
Auburn always plays Alabama really well at the end of the season too. So that's tough. You don't know what they're gonna get out of Arkansas. Don't know what they're gonna get out of Ole Miss. You look at Alabama's schedule. It's just that little bit tougher than LSU.
I think you guys made really solid points. It's hard to disagree with what you guys are saying. Like I said, I gave a little extra credit for both these teams. They do have to go through that SEC grind, but so I think you guys have swung me. I think Bama should have that toughest schedule.
Yeah.
Good argument from you both. Let's jump ahead, guys. It's week 0. We have finally made it, guys. Finally. Let's discuss our week 0 game of the week. Brandon, go ahead and give us your game of the week for week 0.
For me, I think it's going to be Utah and Florida.
That's not week 0.
That is not week 0.
Go back. That's for next week. You got your next week's notes.
I have top 25 here. Hold on.
You're good. Next week's notes.
Yes. Next week note. There you go. It's a look ahead to next week is that's my favorite game of the week.
Yeah, no, that's a hell of a game, but we're not there yet.
It should be. I got it now. We're good. I think the Ohio-San Diego State game could be a good one. Ohio, the Bobcats are pretty solid program, and then San Diego State has a lot of question marks around them. If they want to prove that they're a big Power 5 program, and they want to be that Power 5 program, then you got to start with the mollywomping of Ohio.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's very fair. Caleb, what was your game of the week?
For me, it's got to be Hawaii Vanderbilt. I think there's some misconception there, even though Vanderbilt's favored by 17. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think this is a game where you never know what you're going to get with Vanderbilt, and same for Hawaii. You never know how good or how bad each team's going to be, especially. And so I think it's always an interesting matchup when you see teams like this taking on each other in week 0.
Yeah. Brandon, I'm going to agree with you. The Ohio versus San Diego State game, I have that one circled this week. San Diego State, they've been solid in the past. Ohio has a really good quarterback. His last name's Rourke. He had a really big year. I think he threw for 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Really talented guy.
Yeah.
San Diego State's favored by 3. That's going to be a good one, guys. I think if Hawaii can get a couple stops, I think that Vandy game gets a lot more interesting. I think the problem is we never hear anything about Hawaii anymore in terms of football. And the only thing we hear about Vandy usually is negativity about their football. So it's kind of a toss-up. I like that you went out and picked them as the top game. I will most certainly be watching, but some interesting games. You guys didn't bite on Navy versus Notre Dame this week?
That should be a good one either way. But Notre Dame should be able to handle Navy pretty easily. The only other one that kind of caught my attention a little bit, kind of looking at things is the UTEP versus Jacksonville State. UTEP has a pretty decent team too. They get a lot of talk. The Miners, they're a pretty good little group there. So
yeah, I mean,
it's another fun one to watch.
Favored by a 1.5 in that one.
Yeah.
It's another week 0's. It's just they're interesting games. These are, these aren't your cream of the crop teams. Besides, obviously USC and Notre Dame, we're getting to see some other teams, get a little bit more of prime time, and I think that's really great for these programs. Yeah. Let's jump ahead then to our week 0 picks. Starting off, we've got Navy versus Notre Dame. I'm going to give you guys a score prediction also. I got Notre Dame. I got them winning 35-14. Caleb, how you see that one going down?
I'm going to go with Notre Dame as well. As much as, I love watching the service schools play, it's just, I think, an outmatched opponent right here. I like that score prediction. I kind of favor on that. I'm going to give it a little bit closer and say 35-21, but I still think Notre Dame comes away with a win in this one.
Okay, Brandon, how you see that one shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, you have to go with Notre Dame. They're playing in Ireland, so there's going to be a little bit of, the jet lag and stuff. I don't know how long they've been over there already. But either way, the game, it's the start of college football. It's the first game on the schedule. There's a lot of excitement around Notre Dame this year, so that game is going to be watched because, you're going to be able to watch it on NBC. So it'll be a fun one to watch. Score-wise, I like the 35. You said 35-14?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that score, but I could see it being, closer to that 35-21 kind of score too.
Yeah, I mean, and you never know, guys. If Navy is clicking with that triple option, it could turn into a dogfight. I mean, that's the problem with playing Navy is you never know. Mm-hmm. You get hit with a fake here and a fullback up the middle for 30 yards, and you're like wondering you're scrambling. Yeah. So I like that. I like that Navy that will randomly pose a threat to some of these teams because it's hard to get used to that triple option.
Yeah.
Let's move ahead to UTEP.
Triple option is one of the hardest things to. If you run it well, it's one of the hardest offenses to stop.
I could not imagine being a D lineman learning your gaps and your assignments all week, and then you miss one and it's gone. You're just
touchdown.
But let's move ahead. UTEP, Jacksonville State. UTEP favored by 1.5. Brandon, give us your winner of the UTEP Jacksonville State game.
I'll go UTEP. I'll give them the 1.5, but I'll go more of probably like a 27-21 score, right
I
around
like
that.
it. Caleb,
right around
what we got?
I'm gonna go with UTEP as well. That 1.5, that I think they covered there. I think I'm gonna go with 24-14.
Like it. I'm going to also go with UTEP. We might have cursed Jacksonville State. We will know next week. I'm going 21-17. I think they cover also. 1.5 in college football is always interesting because of the field. A field goal takes you right out of that. So if you're into the the points and everything, watch out for that 1.5. Moving on, UMass versus New Mexico State. New Mexico State favored by 7. Caleb, who do we have winning this one?
I'm gonna go New Mexico State. That's always a tough matchup. Just those two schools are, smaller programs that don't get a lot of face time. That spread, I'm gonna go New Mexico State. Let's say 28-14.
Okay, Brandon, give it to us.
That's solid. So I'll pick the upset with this one. I'll give it to UMass, just for fun. I really see these two teams play too often, so it'll be, hopefully be able to catch the game on ESPN on Saturday and be able to watch it. Watch UMass beat New Mexico State. Are they That's it, the Lobos?
No, that's New Mexico.
That's
I think
New
New Mexico State's the Aggies.
Aggies.
New Mexico, it's the Aggies. Yep. Caleb's got it. I'm going to go with New Mexico State also. I've got them winning 21-10. So I got them with the cover. Hey, it's great. It's great that these teams are getting on TV. I mean, if there's nothing else to take from some of these games, it's like these players who work their asses off finally get on TV for a week, and I think it's really great. Moving on, Hawaii versus Vandy. Vandy is favored by 17.5. Caleb, let's start with you because you said potentially Hawaii could keep it close. Let's hear what you got here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Vanderbilt in this game, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't think it's gonna be that 17-point spread we see that they have it as. I'm gonna say Vanderbilt wins this 21-17.
Ooh, that's a close one. I like it.
Close game.
Brandon, who you got? Hey, Hawaii, Vandy.
Hawaii's not going to come to Nashville and lay over. It's a long flight, but I'm going to go Vandy, just because it's an SEC team. It's hard not to pick somebody like that. Even though they're not necessarily the cream of the crop in the SEC, it's still an SEC football team. So they're going to come on. They're going to lay it down as much as they can. Be interesting to see how they figure out their end zone issue with the construction not being done.
That is also there. You go. More importantly than the game, how is the end zone construction coming along? It's what you're watching for. I love it. Hawaii, Vandy. I'm going to pick Vandy also. I've got them covering. I got it 35-17. I think Vandy takes out some aggression. They're tired of getting dunked on. They're gonna show up week 1 ready to go. I got Vandy covering 35-17. This one we're all going to agree on, but the margin of victory should be interesting. USC versus San Jose State. Brandon, how much does USC win by?
I'll give them a good 40-point win.
Okay, that's very fair. Caleb, what do you got?
I'm going to shoot. Let's go. USC wins it 54-14.
I wrote down on my paper, I got 56-7. I think it gets ugly, real ugly.
It's our chance to see what Caleb Williams is going to do at the start of his back-to-back Heisman campaign.
I bet you he throws 5 touchdowns and then sits the rest of the game because there's just no reason to be out there.
No. Those 5 touchdowns is going to be in the first half, right?
Yeah,
I would assume so. I think they come out, they put a beat down in the first half and rest the guys getting ready for next week. Tough week to be a San Jose fan.
Yeah.
Next game, FIU versus Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is favored by 11.5, guys. Brandon, who you got winning this one?
I honestly don't know too much about either of these two teams. Besides, Louisiana Tech goes by La Tech, so that's kind of fun. But I got to just go with the favorite this one, and I'll pick Louisiana Tech.
Cool. Caleb, what do you got? Louisiana Tech?
Yeah, I'm going with Louisiana Tech as well. Like Brandon said, these two teams aren't super heavy talked about teams.
Yeah.
Louisiana Tech wins this one.
I got Louisiana Tech. I predict 28-10. I think they cover pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And then last game, my game of the week, Ohio versus San Diego State. Like I mentioned before, San Diego State is favored by 3.
Yeah.
Caleb, who we got winning this one?
I'm going to go with San Diego State winning this one. I say they're going to win it. Give me 27-24.
Okay, so you got a field goal. Okay. Brandon, who are you taking?
So I'm going to go Ohio. I think Ohio's going to go into San Diego State, and they're going to lay down the law a little bit and prove the Aztecs wrong, that they're not a Power 5 school. And
it seems like you're offended by San Diego State wanting to be in a better conference.
No, it's just for the content. That's all.
I got you.
No, I think Ohio will surprise some people. I think they'll go in and surprise and shock San Diego State.
Cool. I'm with you. I got Ohio winning 24-21. I'm thinking last minute type field goal situation. Yep. Caleb, you're in a similar boat, at San Diego State by 3. I'm thinking it's a close one. I think it's a good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
But I got Ohio by 3.
Yeah. I like that.
Guys, that's week 0 right there. Summed up pretty well. You guys got anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Yeah, I tried to look into some details about why week 0 is a thing, and then what it's about. Most of it has to do with the travel. It has to do with a lot of travel. It's Notre Dame and Navy, flying to Ireland, Hawaii to Vanderbilts. That's like a 23-hour flight, something like that. It has something to do with it. But from my understanding, what I've read about is that once the 12-team playoff starts, week 0 is going to become week 1.
So they're just moving up a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
From what I've read, that there's a good possibility that happens. Next year, the year after, at least.
No, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah,
guys, we covered a lot today. We talked running backs. We talked strength of schedule, game of the week, week 0 picks. Been a good week, guys. Don't forget college football pick'em. We're starting. Obviously, it doesn't start with week 0. It starts with week 1. Let's get as many people as we can. Top 3 get prizes. We're going to kick you guys' ass. That's what we're going to do. Hell of a show, you guys. Can't wait till we be back next week. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe. And thank you guys for helping us hit triple digits on views for the last video. Really great for us. We have a little competition here at Variety Sports Network going on for the Thursday Night Wars. And as of right now, we are winning the Thursday Night Wars comfortably. Thanks to my co-host here, Caleb, Brandon. Thank you guys. Next week we'll be back covering week 1. Can't wait to do it again with you guys. See you next week.
Make sure you check out Home Field. They got some really cool box stuff coming up. It's going to be pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Hey, this is Brandon, CEO of the Variety Sports Network. Thank you again for watching tonight's show. Best way you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button, that like button, and hitting the notifications so you don't miss out on the next show right here on the Variety Sports Network.